So, welcome back to School for You. I know it's been a long time. It's been like a whole month. Sorry for being absent. Um, but today we're going to have a different kind of lesson. Not even a lesson, maybe a lesson, but even a different program, not Cinema 4D, but a really cool one that even does some things better than Cinema 4D, surprisingly, and that I know too. And I just want to share it with you, the knowledge that I know, because it's really, really cool. And it's also cheap, actually, it's free. And as you can probably guess, we're talking about Blender. It's a really cool program, okay? Um, I'll show you how to install it now. So you'll just want to go to blender.org, which org is for a non-profit organization, and we just go to this site, their site. You can donate. There is a store, merch store, and it's really cool. They have this all sorts. There's something called the Blender Cloud, which is like Creative Cloud but for Blender. You can save your files in the cloud if you'll pay like $10. There are Blender conferences, and they even do some Google Summer of Code. They showed us their roadmap for the releases, for the versions. And actually, this is what I'll want to talk before I'll show you how to install it. Um, Basically, what it I think does better than Cinema 4D is that it has a really cool built-in engine, which is Cycles, and it's a CPU and GPU render engine. It's really, really powerful and cool. It's also really good at modeling sculpting and much better, like I think, in UV. Um, Regarding to sculpting, for example, Maya, Cinema 4D, and all sorts of those programs have sculpting features. Blender is considered a sculpting application. Those are two different things. In VFX, it's also really good. You can do motion tracking like in Cinema 4D and all sorts of other stuff. It also has a lot of animation and rigging stuff in it. Also much better than Cinema 4D, I think. And it also has 2D animation, and in 2.9 alpha, which is not yet released, but it will release in a couple of months, you can convert your 3D animation to 2D animation, which is super cool. And it also has video editing uh, feature built in, so you can use it as a built-in program. It's like 10 programs instead of one, and it's all free. Also, it has a fluid simulation and fire simulation, which are really good. It's called MantaFlow. Really cool program. It has a lot of features, even features that Cinema 4D doesn't have. Okay, so let's see how to download it. So you'll just want to click on the 2.83. It's the first long-term support version. Currently it's 2.83 while I'm recording, and just click on 2.83. Now, yes, it's open source. It means that you can program it and you can change the code. You can even download the source code, and then you can modify it however you want. Now, if you want to get the alpha version, which I have right here, it's Blender. It will just install as regular Blender. You can just click on the experimental, and currently it's 2.9 alpha, which has new features, that the same feature that lets you convert 3D animation to 2D animation. By the way, it's really powerful 2D animation software too. But yeah, so whatever you want, I already downloaded 2.9 and 2.83. It's just that 2.83 is more stable than 2.9. But if you'll download 2.9 alpha right now, you'll be fine. So you'll just want to select your version. Blender will probably identify what OS you have. I have Mac OS. Also, just click on the download Blender to 2.8 free, and you'll download it and follow the instructions. So I already downloaded Blender, Blender 2.8 free, and when you come to Blender, you'll want it will ask you to select your preferences. So just select right click and stuff like that, whatever you want. And then you'll be greeted with this screen, which is basically the splash screen. You'll have your recent files, and this is a cool one. Actually, because Blender is a lot of programs inside of one, it gives you a lot of workflows. So, for example, you have a 2D animation workflow, sculpting workflow, VFX workflow, and the video editing workflow. It's really powerful in all of those stuff, but you'll probably not use all of Blender, but still it's a pretty cool feature that it has all of those. Now, if you'll click anywhere on the screen, you'll go to the general workflow, which is this. Okay, you can just rotate like that if you'll click on your middle mouse, or if you're using a laptop, just scroll. You can also do that by pressing on those axis right here, and you can pan if you'll click on those here. All of those I'll explain shortly what are they. Basically this is the zoom in, zoom out button. This is the pan. Okay, you can pan around, and this is actually pretty cool feature. If you're ever lost, you can just press and it will go to the to your camera view, which then you can just do something like that, and you can see your animation, which is very cool, and you can just snap out of it if you'll press again on this button, or just go away. Now this is pretty cool for those who are working with computer aided design programs, or CAD, for example Fusion or SolidWorks. So some people prefer this view. Okay, I don't. You can just switch between those. This is pretty cool, but I don't use it that often. Now let's talk about those. This is where Blender really shines in a feature that Cinema 4D doesn't have. Okay, so basically this is the regular view without any textures. That is basically I want to explain. This is Eevee, a real-time render engine inside Blender that comes installed with Blender. Okay, and Cinema 4D doesn't have this engine. It's actually made by the Blender Foundation, so no program has it, and it's really good. Okay, I'll show you afterwards a project that somebody made, and you'll see it how it looks in Eevee. So this is using the Eevee real-time render engine to simulate how it will look with all the lights. Okay, but we want to see how it will really look with the lights that we have and all the stuff here, and then we come to the render pre-review. Okay, this is the render pre-review, material pre-review. This is how it will look when it will be rendered. Okay, so you can already see how it will look before it will be rendered. Now, a lot of people don't really like rendering in Eevee. They like to pre-review their render in Eevee, but not render inside of it. So, this takes us to this part. This part is actually what modifies our object that is selected. So if we'll just click on this cube, we can determine its location on the x-axis and stuff like that. Control-Z or Command-Z. And this is actually its location and scale, the object properties. So you have all of those here. This is actually a cool thing that Blender has. It's called the modifiers. It's actually like MoGraph in Cinema 4D. So there are a lot of modifiers. As you can see, we'll not cover all of them, but they're pretty useful if you want to do something from those modifiers right here. So you can, for example, you can add a subdivision modifier. So let me just find it. It's somewhere here, but the shortcut is Control or Command and how many subdivision levels you want. So for example, 3. And here you saw that it was the modifier that just popped up. There are a lot of hotkeys, by the way. So let's just go to level 5, and there we go. We have this ball, and we can just click on apply. But before we click on that, that takes us to the modeling section. I'll return to this to the properties in 1 second, but this takes us to the modeling, and there we can do something pretty cool. If we'll just click on this corner and click on the move button, by the way, before we continue, this is the move, this is the rotate, this is the scale, and this is all of them combined. This is the annotate button. You can, if you'll click on it, you can just draw, which is pretty cool. This is the grease pencil, which a lot of people like. It's for 2D animation. And this is the measure. It's good for modelers. So if we'll just click on the move button, which the shortcut for it is G, we can just move this, and yeah, we can manipulate our ball like this. It's pretty useful if you want to sculpt like with clay. Okay, then we can go to the sculpting tab, and this is where really Blender shines, because it's not the best in here, because we need to subdivide it. Actually, we need to subdivide it even more. So if we'll just select it with A, everything, and we'll subdivide it, right click and just subdivide a lot, you'll see that in the end, yeah, my computer is stuck, but here we go. In the end, we have this pretty weird shape, yes, but we can, if your computer doesn't die at this point, like mine, you can sculpt in here like in ZBrush. Okay, so you have all of these programs inside of one. So there we go. We have this cube that I will delete shortly. But if you like this shape right here, you can just click on apply, and it will apply the modifier to this shape. But I will delete it because it slows down my computer like hell. And so yeah, here you go. You have this toolbar here. This is by the way, this is the select. Just select shapes, okay, like this. This is the 3D cursor, which is basically, you can determine where you want to position it, and then you can do a lot of things with it. It's actually pretty cool, but I'll explain it maybe in another video, not now. So let's just press on Shift A to add us another cube. So we talked about the modifiers. What is this? This is basically the particle properties, which you can make hair systems with it. Okay, so we can do this, and you have hair. And actually, I just wanted to show you something. If we're talking about hair, I made this before this little video. This little cool guy called Harry, and it just shows us how powerful actually the hair system in Blender is. So you can see that this is just a ball, okay, with a couple of eyes, but it looks pretty cute. So this is this is a couple of versions of him, and you can of course manipulate the hair like in other programs. but we'll just delete that because we don't want to mess around with the particles. Then we have the physics properties, which actually brings us to another thing that Cinema 4D doesn't have, is fluid and fire and smoke simulations, which it's not comparable to Bifrost and Maya, of course, but it's worse. But it's really, really good if you want to just do something pretty cool to show your friends, even for VFX, okay? You can make rigid body and cloth and all the things that you have in Cinema 4D. Remember, this is all free. Then we have the object constraints. This is basically good for if you want to do parental constraints, like character picking up an object. So you can make this child off. Maybe I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you right now. So Control C or Command C and Command or Control V, and then we can just move our object, and we can press on S, which is the shortcut for the scale tool, and we can just scale it, and maybe even scale it to the X axis. So just press on S and X, and let's scale it like this, and maybe scale it down and like this. So this is really like quick, and this brings us to the little animation stuff. So this is the auto key, like in Cinema 4D that we have it somewhere here. This is the auto key button, which every time that we will move a shape will make us a key. So let's just press on this, and or you can just press on I, and it's basically a shortcut for insert key. But I like to use the auto key because it saves me a ton of time. So let's press on R, and this actually rotates it however we want. Okay, so yeah, you can see that it's not the best, but let's just rotate it really quickly. So here we go, it's already made as a key, and let's go to the frame 250 and move it like this. Okay, 90 degrees, and it made us a key, and as you can see we have this weird animation. Yeah, but don't worry, we are not, this is not what we want for today. And now we want to select our cube and make a parental constraint, and just click on child off and target. Let's target our cube 1. Okay, so now we need to click on clear inverse and click on set inverse, and now if we'll play, ta-da, our cube moves perfectly with our arm, if we can call it an arm, without us even doing a thing. And if we want to, let's just delete that and delete both of those. So if we want to, Shift A, let's add a cube, and so if we want to make a cube a parent of something, we just click on it and press shift and like drag it to the object that we want to make it parent of. Like we want to parent it for the camera, for example, and we'll just drag it to the camera and press on shift, but we don't want to do it for now. So let's just press Control Command Z. And then we can go to the object data properties, which is UV maps, shape keys, and stuff like that. And then we have the material properties, and we can add a new material and change its colors, and it doesn't work. Can you remember why? Because we are in the flat mode, or non-material mode and non-light mode. So we'll just go to the material preview, and we can see our material. Cool, right? Let's just delete our material. So this is for this part of the object, but what about our scene? So we have world properties, which basically we can make an HDRI and then with the node system. So if we'll just change the color, oh, it doesn't work too. So if we'll just press like this and bam, we can now see because why it doesn't work in here, because it's the material, it just works for the material properties of this shape. But if we'll press on this and just change its material, maybe like this, something even more darker. Yeah, so if red comes with blue, it creates green. So yeah, pretty cool, right? Let's create a new scene because we already messed it up. So yeah, this is about the world properties. You can use the nodes and create some more complex stuff. Then we have the scene properties, which you can decide what camera you want and stuff like that. By the way, if you click on this, on stuff for example, you can insert a keyframe like in Cinema 4D. So we already went okay, so this is basically the layer properties. So sometimes you want to work with layers, you have everything in here. Then you'll have the output properties, which is basically what will happen when you will render. Okay, this is where you want to go when you will do rendering. And here you can decide your render engine. So let's just go to the rendering, and you have Eevee in here, which is the real-time render. Look. And then we have another render engine called Cycles, which a lot of people use for rendering. It's very, very good. But as you can see, it's a CPU render engine and a GPU. I won't use it on the GPU because my GPU isn't very good. So yeah, that's and then we have some the active tool and workspace settings. It doesn't really matter. And this is the user interface. We have all of those workflows, the animation, the shading workflow, which you can decide on HDRIs. You can even script in here with Python, and you can even do texture painting. So if we'll just click like this, and we can paint stuff. Cool, right? Like body paint in Cinema 4D. And you can sculpt, and really cool application. I highly recommend to try using it. It's really cool. Okay, so I hope you like it, and please let me know if you want me to do lessons on Blender or Cinema 4D. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and thank you for watching.